Today, first and foremost, I want to express that our thoughts and concern are with the evacuees and the communities who are affected by the wildfires right across Saskatchewan. This is a deeply distressing time for many families, and I want to acknowledge the fear and disruption that many people are experiencing. I also want to express my profound gratitude to the SPSA frontline staff, to the many municipal fire departments and volunteer fire departments, and the countless emergency personnel who are working around the clock to protect lives, homes, and livelihoods. There has been an incredible number of resources, including emergency personnel, air assets, heavy equipment, and value protection assets used to protect the community of Beauval. The bravery and dedication of this work deserves our respect and our support. I'd also like to thank the SPSA, the MLTC, and the Red Cross staff who are supporting the evacuees. Yesterday, I was joined by Minister Kiesig and the president of the SPSA, Marlo Pritchard, to meet with Denair Beach and the mayor and council there to further discuss the $20 million of recovery funding that our province announced to support the recovery work happening in that community and other communities where residential properties have been lost. We had an excellent meeting, and I would like to again thank the community leaders at Denair Beach who are working countless hours alongside the province's recovery task team to clean up their community and prepare for a safe rebuild. I'll now turn it back to Stephanie or to Steve for the fire update.
Thanks, Tim. Now I'll move it over to Steve.
Good afternoon. Currently today in Saskatchewan, we have 57 active fires. 14 of those are not yet contained. 364 fires so far this year, which well above our 5-year average of 232. Today I'm going to just focus on the fire of note, of most concern, is the muskeg fire in the Beauval area. Currently that fire is 95,000 hectares. Late yesterday evening, the fire was pushed by the wind and moved south. It came to the north edge of the town, then proceeded down the west side and to the southern part of the town. Our crews, aircraft, and equipment on site, including our structural fire partners who are working within the community, did excellent work and were able to prevent any structure loss within the community. Only structures that were impacted were a shed and a vehicle out by the ball diamonds north of town. So excellent work considering that fire has completely gone around the town now, and the crews are continuing to mop that up. Highway 918 is still passable, so there is no restrictions on that highway should we need to use it for emergency services or to support the community of Pachinak. Because of the active fire, there was a full evacuation of Beauval yesterday afternoon. The remaining people who were not essential were asked to leave so that we could carry out our business there, protecting the town. So that brings the village of northern village of Beauval to 560 evacuees being supported by the agency or with family and friends in Saskatoon and in Moose Jaw. Still 5 individuals out from the resort subdivision of Lac La Plonge who are staying with family and friends. Kiniseo, 26 individuals who are being supported by the Canadian Red Cross. La Plonge Reserve is 185 individuals at Cold Lake, supported by the Meadow Lake Tribal Council. Pachinak English River First Nation, about 120 P1 and P2 individuals, currently in Lloydminster, supported by the Meadow Lake Tribal Council. And as of this morning, Jans Bay, 30 individuals being supported by the Public Safety Agency in Moose Jaw. So as we support those individuals, we are in constant communication with those that remain in the community should further evacuations be required, or at some point where it is safe to repatriate those individuals. Final reminder, as of yesterday, there is a provincial fire ban on due to the hazardous weather conditions that have led to the dry fuel out there. So fire ban covers all of the provincial forests from Prince Albert north all the way to the Churchill River, right across the province. So if you are traveling to the northern parts of the province, remember that there is a fire restriction that's both outside and inside of provincial parks. I'll turn it back to you, Stephanie, for questions.
Thank you, Steve. And as a reminder, one question, please, and remember to identify your outlet. First up, I see Nicole.
Yes, thank you, Nicole Healy with Global Saskatoon here. I heard that there was a little bit of confusion with the evacuation in Beauval. People were supposed to go to North Battleford, but then that was canceled and they were sent to Moose Jaw. So I'm just kind of curious what happened there and why residents are having to go all the way to Moose Jaw for support.
So the original plan for those individuals were somewhere to go to North Battleford and then the overflow to Saskatoon. However, we were notified by North Battleford that due to events that were occurring within the community, they could not support evacuations longer than 1 day. So all evacuees were sent to Saskatoon until those hotel rooms were filled, and then the overflow of individuals were sent to Moose Jaw, where we have other hotel spaces. And that's why this morning, Jans Bay, who started evacuation processes this morning, were also directed to Moose Jaw.
Thank you, Steve. Up next, I see there's a question in the chat from Arjun from the Daily Herald. What's the latest situation in Beauval, especially with the merged fires in the Beauval cluster? Are there any updates in evacuation plans, containment efforts, or risks to the community?
So as I mentioned, efforts are ongoing. We still have those resources in the community. Helicopters and air tankers are already working around the community of Beauval. We also have a fire of interest in that immediate cluster called a trail fire, and that's the fire that's causing some concern to Jans Bay. And so we have active efforts on both of those fires at this time. And we believe that we will continue to need efforts for the next number of days as this hot weather pattern continues.
Thanks, Steve. Up next, we have Timur.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yep.
Thank you so much for taking our questions. I want to ask you specifically about the state of emergency idea. I mean, in Manitoba, obviously yesterday they've announced another second, province-wide state of emergency. Can you walk me through Saskatchewan's thinking on that? Of course, it's not nearly as bad as it was, right? Like when the state of emergency was the case in Saskatchewan as well. But walk me through the thinking on that, why it would become important at some point in Saskatchewan as well, or what would be the cause for that, if that is where Saskatchewan might need to head later in the summer.
So a state of emergency allows the province and the agencies representing the province during an emergency to carry out some activities that maybe normally would not be within their mandate. So as we see in the case of Manitoba, because they have evacuation and they have shortage of hotels, they have used that state of emergency to take over public facilities to house evacuees. That's normally not the process. But because they've needed those extra efforts, and it also allowed them to engage more proactively with the military for evacuation purposes. So it's when the province needs those extra tools and in the toolkit that they would enact a state of emergency. If we can manage under our current exercises and mandates and our own legislation, we will continue to do so. But at any time we cannot do that, we will approach Cabinet to have them reinstate a state of emergency at that point.
Thanks, Steve. Edith, you're up next. Oh. Nicole?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's regarding the Dinar Beach. You mentioned that you had a great discussion with them. Can you provide us a bit more like tangible information? What was discussed, and in terms of help, what was promised?
Sure. Thanks for the conversation, or pardon me, for the question. And yes, it was a very positive conversation that Minister Kiesig and Marlo Pritchard and I were fortunate to have yesterday with the leadership at Dinar Beach. Right now, the next steps are obviously to move into the cleanup phase. The properties need to have environmental assessment and then a plan to clean up the damage done by the fire before they can start the rebuild. And that was really the focus of the conversations, were next steps. The community was particularly appreciative of the $20 million investment that the government has provided. Again, the communities are in the driver's seat when it comes to formulating the plan that they would like to, that's going to be most effective for them and their citizens as they move through the cleanup and the rebuild. But the government of Saskatchewan and the SPSA are right alongside them, particularly with the support from the recovery task team that has been stood up. It's a multi-ministerial team with representatives from a variety of ministries to make sure that we are working right alongside that community leadership to provide them with whatever supports they need to make sure that any roadblocks in their recovery plan are removed and make sure that they have the financial support, which again was the $20 million investment that we announced earlier this week.
Thank you, Minister. Nicole, you're up next.
Thank you for taking my question again here. I'm just in regards to the Muskeg fire again. Yesterday we were told that winds were moving east and it wasn't actually supposed to move south towards the community yesterday. I'm curious, when did the winds change and how quickly did the fire hit the community after residents were evacuated around 3:30?
So we monitor the weather consistently, and the long term for the full day, winds were to be from the west heading east. A small system passed south of the Beauval area, and because of that pressure change, it actually brought winds down into more of a southeast flow. So in other words, bringing them down southward, and that's lasted for about an 8-hour period. And that is the point when the fire actually came down and impacted the town site of Beauval. And when we said that it impacted, it basically came right to the edge of town. We have done some work. We put in some guards around the town with heavy equipment, bulldozers. We also had a community sprinkler setup that was around the outskirts of the town, wetting down that area. And as the fire shifted and started to move south, we also added some retardant lines to build that up. And at that point, we evacuated the town and told them to head south. And then we marshaled our resources into the community, including our structural fire partners. And as the fire approached the town, we worked on protecting the town site itself, and that involved putting out a number of spot fires that came from embers that were carried by the fire, ended up inside the town boundaries, but those were extinguished before they could cause any structural damage.
Thank you, Steve. We'll now move to Keenan.
Hi, Steve. Keenan Sorokan with CTV News. Maybe a bit premature, but do you know when evacuees will be able to head back?
Well, it'll be a bit still, a day or two for sure, to secure all the town boundary. Again, we have to make sure that there's no opportunity for flare-ups. There is still some fuel around the community. And the long-term weather projections are not for significant rainfall. We're hoping for some that will make the conditions more favorable. But we also have to address the fact that beyond the fire threat, there's also a smoke impact. So even if they can move some of the non-essential individuals back, they may not be health risk individuals at this time, but we'll work with the community directly to assess those opportunities for them to repatriate.
Okay, next we'll move to the chat. So Neil from CJWW Radio, can you describe how close the fire is to Beauval? Are homes and residences in immediate danger?
Well, as I described with the guards, no, they're not, because the fire has moved around the town. But the fire actually moved right adjacent to the town. If we had not done all of those extensive measures and not had structural fire departments to put out spot fires, we may very well have had some structural losses. When we say it came to town, it came right to the edge of the town site.
Thanks, Steve. We have a follow-up in the chat from Tamir. Could we also get a quick total count of evacuees in Saskatchewan as of today, please?
Quick summary of the 6 evacuations currently on the books for a total of 925 individuals identified.
Thank you. And we have Alex from CBC. My question is, what is the current situation at the Johns Bay Village? How close is the trail of fire, the village structures, and are the sprinklers set up?
I currently don't have a proximity. I'm just pulling up some files now. But we do have dozer guards in there and value protection units in place. And we have air tankers working that fire. So at this time, it is south of the highway and Jans Bay is north of the highway. So we're working to contain it south of the road.
Thank you, Steve. And another call out for questions. Edith?
Yes. How confident are you that the fire is contained and won't cause more destruction in the town of Beauval?
Well, the fire is not contained at this time. It is an active fire, but our efforts are to take advantage of the guards that we had that were successful, ensure that we continue to keep diligent within the town site for spot fires should that occur, and also do some work around the immediate flanks of the fire that came next to the town to ensure that there's no more flammable material that could be reignited and cause any structural damage.
How confident are you?
Considering that the fire has actually burnt most of the town, we have the right amount of resources. We're confident that we will continue to keep that fire on the outside of the town, but we do have one exposed flank still on the east side. With the long-term weather projections of fires from the west, that should not be a grave concern for the town. But we, of course, will continue to monitor. We have lots of crews and resources there to do exactly that, protect the town site and keep the access open on the 918.
Thank you.
Okay, I will do a final call out for additional questions. And I don't see any more, so that will conclude today's media availability. Have a safe weekend, everyone.